heard of Dame Carol Black? Yes? Okay, so you know that she's done the Black Review, and what came out of the Black Review was that if you want good quality staff, you've got to invest in their health and well-being. And, you know, put energy into looking at what encourages them to be healthy, how you can engage more with them, get them more involved in decisions made about the workplace, and also the way that you manage the organisation. And if you look at those two, if you take those two approaches, you will start to develop a more highly performing, more resilient workforce, and as a result of that, you should get increased productivity. So what does personal resilience mean to you? I throw it out to you. What does it mean? What do you think it is?
Being strong enough to cope.
Okay.
Strong enough to cope?
The ability to cope with change without too much disruption.
Right, so the ability to cope with change. Anything else?
Bouncing back after adversity.
Yeah. Okay, so slightly different to the stress stuff. Got a few examples for you here of definitions. GlaxoSmithKline, who are sort of at the leading edge of the drug industry, but have invested very heavily in their well-being, define resilience as the ability to succeed personally and professionally in the midst of a high-pressured, fast-moving and continually changing environment. So it's that ability to deal with continuous change. So what are the components of resilience then? Confidence. How confident are you? Are there different types of confidence? What are they? Emotional awareness and regulation. We've all heard about emotional intelligence, haven't we? So how tuned in are you to the way that you feel? Okay, when I talk about EFT in a minute, it's a technique to help sort of take out the sting of the negative emotions and try and put in some more positive emotions. Social support, so we mentioned support. What kinds of support do people need, you know, when they're facing adversity?
Friends.
Friends. So emotional support they need. And they can get that from friends or family or spouse, colleagues. Adaptability. We need to be able to move and adapt with what's being required of us at a certain time. To take the same old approach or to keep operating in the same way will not suit changing circumstances. Realistic optimism is about the way we think. You know, you've all heard of positive thinking. Think more positively. It's difficult to think more positively when you're thinking very negatively. So how can we flip some of our natural negative thinking into more positive thinking? So the first tapping point is a karate chop, and I want you to all start tapping on the karate chop. Okay. You show that later. It'll be very useful for her. Okay, you just tap very, very lightly at that kind of frequency. Okay, the second tapping point is the top of the head. And it actually feels quite nice when you tap lightly on the top of the head. Okay, I'll take my glasses off for this bit. Inside of the eye, on the eyebrow, so looking at your eyebrow, tapping lightly on the inside of the eyebrow, and the next one tapping lightly on the outside of the eyebrow. Under the eye, on the bone, under the eye, under the nose, under the chin, and then something called the sore spot. On here it's referred to as the collarbone, but it's actually where your collarbone comes across and down. It's an inch in and an inch. It's an inch down and an inch across. If you just sort of tap around that area on your collarbone, you'll find a bit that's slightly more sensitive than the rest of it. It's called the sore spot. Anybody got that? Just keep tapping around until you sort of think, oh, that bit's slightly more sensitive. So the collarbone along there, down, and just go in slightly from that. Anybody got it? Or just tap around that area. Okay, and the next bit is under your arm. For the women, it's on your bra strap under the arm. And then you can go down through the fingers here on the edge of the nail, on the edge of each finger, or you can just tap on the wrist, because all these meridians come off your hand and just tap on the wrist. And that is called one round.